I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at a place called Osmington Mills on the Jurassic Coast in Dorset. It's less than a mile south from Osmington, which in turn is 4 miles northeast of Weymouth and 8 miles south of Dorchester. And we're going to be walking a roughly 4.5 mile circular route from Osmington Mills, west along the southwest coast path to Redcliffe Point, then up to Osmington for some exploring before returning to the Smugglers Inn back here at Osmington Mills. Now I'm filming at the end of May. It is another glorious sunny day, a little bit of wind about, a little bit of cloud, but that's hopefully going to lift quite shortly. Should be perfect conditions for walking. Do come along with us. Well, before we start, let me show you exactly where we are. And you can probably see behind me the Isle of Portland in the far distance. And it's looking quite clear today, and then just panning along. This is Osmington Mills in front of me. Now there is a pay and display car park there, but I actually parked in a little lay-by. There seems to be enough room for a few cars for free parking just up the road. Now Osmington Mills has got a tremendous amount of history attached to it, particularly with smuggling. It was an ideal place to hide contraband in days gone by. It was once the headquarters of one of the most notorious gangs of smugglers, the Charles Gang, and their leader, Emmanuel Charles, was landlord of the pub here during the 1800s. Now I see on a 1902 map there were Coast Guard cottages here. I think the buildings are actually still here, but look as though they might be holiday cottages now. I'm not too sure. I wonder when they were built and if they actually had any effect against the smuggling. And this is the Smugglers Inn. Now there's been an inn on the site since the 13th century apparently, and it used to be called the Crown, then it changed to the Picnic Inn. I think I've seen some old pictures on the internet showing that. And indeed it also had tea rooms where you could buy a lobster tea. Now I'm not sure when it changed its name to the present Smugglers Inn though. I dare say it'll probably be our final destination. Right, well we're going to kick off with our walk now, heading northwards out of Osmington Mills. We're going to pick up the southwest coast path. A lovely colourful display of wildflowers on the bank here. Some foxgloves mingled with all sorts. Gosh, what a beautiful front garden with a little stream going through it. Now this is the signpost I was looking for, the coastal path. So we follow this all the way to Redcliffe Point. Right, our first little pit stop for a view, and I apologise if there's a lot of wind on the audio. It's not a cold wind, it's perfect actually to cool us down. So Osmington Mills is just down in front of us, and then obviously this is looking out to sea. Some sort of large ship anchored out there, and this is now pointing westwards, which is where we're heading next. Now I think that might be Goggins Barrow. I'm not 100% sure. I think it is, looking at the map, but well, there's some dispute as to if it's actually a Bronze Age barrow. Some suggest it might just be a natural mound, but it's about 16 metres in diameter and about 0.6 of a metre high. It certainly shows on an old map. We're actually on the southwest coast path now, which is that 630-mile long distance path that starts at Poole in Dorset and makes its way all the way around to Minehead in Somerset. But it really is quite pretty. I've almost got this avenue of buttercups either side of the path, and if I gradually turn around, you might just be able to see behind me the sea. We're going to get some great views of the sea today. Hopefully we'll get a chance to get down on the beach later on. A pit stop for a view. I don't know what's happened to the sun. These clouds weren't really forecast. Fingers crossed it's going to clear up soon. But right at the edge of that beach down there, you've got Redcliffe Point. We're hopefully going to get down on the beach shortly. And then just here on the right, there's I think it's an activity centre, PGL Activity Centre. Something like 45 acres, I believe. Gosh, look at this. It's looks like it's a sort of cocoon on the end of a little branch full of these caterpillars. I've never seen anything like that before. I'm certainly not going to touch it. Wow, we've got a lovely view of the beach from up here, and I can see some people going down, so there is a path down there. And gosh, is that a pillbox down there? Oh, I hope so. Something to explore. But from here, some really great views of Weymouth and Portland, much clearer now. Oh wow, look at these. I do love coming across old pillboxes, and well, this one here is obviously slipped down off the cliff face there, but still in fairly good condition. There's so many of these dotted along the southwest coastal path, which would have been the first line of defence in the Second World War. Great that it's still here. Just making our way along the beach here. I say beach, it's very, very pebbly. It's lovely listening to the waves crashing against the shore. So that's a Redcliffe Point in front of me. Very much soft clay overlaid with a much harder limestone, so that results in chunks crumbling into the sea from time to time. But I was reading that John Constable, the leading landscape artist around the late 18th, early 19th century, spent his honeymoon around these parts in October 1816, and he did a few paintings, one of which was called Weymouth Bay, which was from this sort of location. So, you know, the cliff there, and there indeed is Weymouth Bay in the distance. Now, I don't think it's dog dip weather today. He's having a think about it, but a little chilly today perhaps. Well, we've made our way back off the beach. It was nice walking along there, but quite stony. I think both Logan and I struggled a bit on those pebbles. So we're going to continue along the southwest coast path just a little bit further. According to some maps, there might be a boundary stone along here, Now, regular viewers will know I've not had much luck recently finding those sort of things, but we'll see how we get on today. Well, according to a current Ordnance Survey map and a 1958 map, but interestingly enough, not a 1902 map, there should be a boundary stone somewhere here. But can I find it? No. So once again, the phantom boundary stone nicker of Dorset has been at work. Okay, well, this is as far west as we're going. The sea's to my right, so we're now going to start heading in a sort of northeasterly direction, initially towards a farm, and then we're going to make our way to Osmington. Whew, uphill bit. Now, just a heads up for any folk that might be doing this walk after watching the video. From the farm heading towards Osmington, the path isn't that obvious. In fact, we looked as though we did a sort of diversion onto what looked like a farmer's track before we found the path again, but it is there. It just takes a little bit of looking for, if you know what I mean. Well, our footpath has taken us to the little village of Osmington, and just looking here on an old 1902 map, there was a pub called the Plough Inn, and I've seen some old photos of it. I think it closed in the 1980s and it looks as though it's now residential. I think some of these buildings are quite new, and yes, one of the cottages looks as though it's called Three Plough Cottages. Now I'm just on a path in a field on the way to have a look at the church, and looking up on the hill there is the famous Osmington White Horse. It was carved out on the hill in 1808, and it depicts King George III. He was a regular visitor to Weymouth, and well, according to local legend, the king was said to have been offended by the carving as it showed him riding away from Weymouth rather than towards it, and so he never returned. However, it seems that it was actually made 3 years after his last visit to the town, and he never actually saw it. But it's 98 metres high and 85 metres long, and it was restored in 1989 by the TV show Challenge Anneka, but there was some controversy that, well, they might have used the wrong colour stone, I'm not sure. Anyway, it was tidied up in 2012 when Weymouth hosted the sailing events and the Olympics, and I think it might have been restored again since, I'm not sure. And this is St Osmond's Church. Originally there was a church built here in about 1170, but apart from the 15th century tower, most of the rest of the church was rebuilt in 1846, retaining the chancel arch, which dated from 1200, and the north arcade, which dated from 1300. And it consists of a nave, north arcade and south arcade, a north and south aisle, a chancel, a tower, a south porch. I think it's got 4 bells, and it's dedicated to St Osmond, who was the Bishop of Salisbury and founder of the first Salisbury Cathedral in the 11th century. All right, let's have a little peep inside. It's quite light as well. A gorgeous church. Now the first bit I want to have a look at is down here on the right. Now we've got this tremendous font which I believe dates from 1200, but there are these 3 windows on the south side with 6 panes. And I was reading that they were pieced together from rubble of abbeys, cathedrals and churches in France and Flanders that had been shelled in the First World War. And of course, a day like today, and the sun has finally come out. It brings them out in all their glory. All right, let's have a little wander through on this side. We've got the organ here on the sort of, I guess must be northern side. And there we go, the bell tower. Oh, quite magnificent pulpit here. That is beautiful. And wow, look at the stained glass window through above the altar. That is incredible. And just next to the church are the ruins of the old manor house, which was built by the Wareham family. William Wareham, who lived here, moved on to become Archbishop of Canterbury during the reign of Henry VII, and I believe he crowned Henry VIII in 1509. But a little bit of the remains, as you can see. Looks like there's a sweet little doorway tucked away through there. Wow, what a delightful church. I just noticed the weather vane at the top is the the White Horse of Osmington. Okay, well, let's have a little wander through the village. I think this is called Church Lane. Just on the right here, just between these two walls, there's a tiny little path. I think it's called Monk's Way or Monk's Path, and well, we'll see the end of that on the other side of the village. But oh, what a gorgeous little street. Look at this row of thatched houses with the wisteria on each side. Now, I was reading that back in 1979, Quality Street did one of their adverts here, and there was a scene from this exact spot. Now, from time to time, Quality Street do surveys, and apparently the most popular always tends to be the purple one, which is my least favourite. I think my favourite would be the penny toffee. They always seem to last a long time. Well, just continuing down Church Street. Letterbox Cottage on my right, and sure enough there's a letterbox in front. Oh, some of these houses, they really are chocolate box stuff. Beautiful thatch and kept in such wonderful condition. And look at this on the left, the Beehive it's called. And look, yes, there's even a bee out of thatch on the roof there. Splendid. Well, this is Chapel Lane. Rose Cottage. Looks like there's a bit of honeysuckle on the outside. And then, well, this is the old chapel here that's obviously been converted to a residential house. And then just by the side of it, I think that is the other side of Monk's Way or Monk's Path that goes back to the church. Well, just by the main road here, this used to be the Sly Fox pub, but it looks as though it's closed. I think it may well have been up for sale. It's being refurbished, I don't know, but I know it used to be called the Sunray. It's fairly modern. I mean, it doesn't appear on a 1902 map. Just over the road there, lovely thatched bus shelter erected in memory of David Edward Parry Jones. He was a Lieutenant 1st Battalion in the Rifle Brigade who died in action at Caen on the 3rd of August 1944. He was only 20, and it was listed as a war memorial in 2018. Well, what a pretty village Osmington is. So we're now on the homeward leg. We're heading back to Osmington Mills on a path about less than a mile or so, and the sun has finally come out. It's a shame it wasn't like this earlier, but Hey-oh, you can't have everything. And shortly we'll be rejoining the Southwest Coast Path. Of course, our final destination, we need to check out the Smugglers Inn, purely for reference purposes, for the sake of the video, of course. Well, now the sun has consented to come out, let me give you a view of Weymouth Bay. It's quite blowy, struggling to keep the camera solid. So Weymouth and Portland, and the sea is beginning to look blue now. And see, there's looks like one of those old-fashioned sailing ships in the bay with the sails all furled up. I'll see if I can get a photograph and put it up on screen for you. And here we are back at Osmington Mills. I'm delighted to say the pub is still open. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. We've had a super walk today. The weather, well, it was a bit dark early on, but my goodness, it turned out glorious in the end. We're at the Smugglers Inn, just quality testing the Thirsty Pheasant. Yep, that gets a thumbs up from me. Might need a second pint just to make sure. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Oh, is it crisp time? What are these? Hand cooked, I'll have you know. Yep, thumbs up from him.